Hey there, it's another beautiful day. I'd like to take a second and address the elephant in the room. Yesterday I had a bit of a workplace accident. Picked something up that wasn't quite as balanced as I thought it was, and it came back and popped me in the face. So this region is a little swollen and busted. Now that I've brought attention to the thing that is making me the most uncomfortable, I can forget about it. Let's watch some stuff.
Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
He says he was forced to make old food look fresh. That's why he secretly recorded his supervisor admitting tampering with best before dates is industry standard.
Every store does the same thing. All the other stores do the same.
At his home, Safari demonstrates what he says is done at work. He takes cheesecakes weeks past their best before dates, adds new toppings, and sells as fresh.
I decorated and I'm selling expired stuff for.
In a national online call-out, Marketplace hears from grocery workers at smaller stores and big chains, sharing stories of food tampering. He used to work in a Toronto area supermarket. He shows us how he was told to give old meat new life.
If it's like this, we would dabble in a little bit of blood, throw it into the meat mincer with some redder meats, and then all together it would make it look red. And then we put it back up on the shelf.
At the University of Guelph, a microbiologist simulated what grocery insiders told us they do. He discovered toxins and bacteria linked to serious illness.
Gross. Sometimes grocery stores freak me out. Like, I understand they have a profit margin, and if they have to throw stuff away, that's eating into their profit margin, especially meat right now, which is super expensive. But that's why I tend to avoid the smaller grocery stores, because they do have a smaller profit margin and they're more likely to do something like that so that they're not losing money. Also, with expiration dates, I did see a study recently that said that the corporations basically put arbitrary numbers on there to make consumers think that the product needs to be thrown away, and then they just go out and buy more. I mean, that's a little bit of a different situation, but still, that's pretty gross.
Oh, look, it's a plane. But see, that's a contrail. See how it disappears after a couple of seconds? You know what's amazing? Ever since Ron DeSantis signed that bill to stop the geosolar engineering, planes spraying out chemicals that spread all over the sky, creating a haze and blocking out the sun. Ever since he signed that bill, hey, there's 2 more planes. Look. That's a contrail. See how it disappears? And there's another one right up there. That's another contrail. Big difference, guys. Skies have been clear blue every single day since he signed the bill.
Well, that certainly is interesting, isn't it? Now, I've kind of always been on the fence about, airplanes and contrails and all that, because I know the science behind these condensation trails. And I've always said it's awfully convenient, isn't it? But what the heck is going on there? He's like, oh, look at the contrail, which is minuscule compared to the stuff that you see. Now, I think it could be a different kind of atmosphere. Maybe there's less moisture in the air. I'm sure there's some scientific explanation. But that is a little suspicious, isn't it?
We've got another little constellation sighting coming from Wisconsin, okay, of a strange formation floating in the sky like they usually do, just chilling, right? Constellation sighting, kind of. Maybe we haven't seen one of these in a little while, but towards the end of the video, one of the pieces in the bottom left corner disappears and the other formation remains, right? So, again, strange formation, kind of looks like the plasmoidal type stuff that we see quite often, and these formations seem to take shape in the sky. A lot of the ones that we have covered seem to point towards constellations in the sky of sorts, but who knows? I mean, there's pieces of this where it kind of looks like there's like a silhouette of something else there, but I don't know whether that's a anomaly from the light itself. And I'll put the full video at the end of this so you can hear the people talking in real time, because it's kind of funny, man. But I don't know, guys. First one from Wisconsin for me. I mean, we haven't seen one of these for a little while, so yeah, you guys let me know what you think, and just listen to the video at the end. It's kind of cool.
5 of these? Gonna be more. There's gonna be more.
They want your ribs, bro. Those are bombs.
They were pretty good. Dude. They were. Those things were intergalactic, dude.
Got the itis. Yeah, they're like, oh, we're coming for them.
Don't worry, the FAA knows about them. They're just hobbyists and they're drones. And the government already gave a lot of money to the military to find out exactly what they are. So I'm sure that information will be released soon.
Something strange is happening to the water in the seas. It is getting much farther away from the shores and is not coming back. In this footage, scuba divers were just caught at the moment when the water began to leave sharply. There are reports of the strange behavior of the seas from around the world. This is the empty shore of Thailand. Locals say they've never seen such a low tide. Next, the water moved away dramatically in Crimea and Turkey, and then Spain. The water just moved away from the shores and it's not coming back. Even off the coast of Africa, it's the same anomaly. In addition to tides, fish began to behave strangely. They massively gather in flocks and swim somewhere, and deep water individuals living at a depth of 3 kilometers rising to the surface. But what is the cause of this phenomenon? At first, it was associated with the moon because it affects the tides through gravity, but nothing has changed on the moon. Many suggest that this is all a harbinger of doomsday. Others generally think that something big has woken up at the bottom of the ocean and is causing the anomalies. What do you think is happening to the seas?
That was March 9th. For us Americans, they do day, month, year. So that's what happened there. It was March 9th of this year, and I personally think that it was a little bit of a load. Actually, a lot of bit of a load. I did some digging because sometimes I'm like, what? How did I miss that? And there's nothing on it. The tides didn't pull back like that because there would have been something. Probably. I mean, I think that is a precursor to a tsunami, right? The tides fall back. Oh, we didn't hear about any tsunamis in that area or any fish doing funny things. So I think it's a dupe.
What you're about to hear is not speculation. This is a high-level scientific and technical assessment of a real video recorded in October 2018 over a US military base in Iraq. The footage, now public, shows a jellyfish-like aerial object, unseen by the human eye, but captured via military-grade thermal imaging. You'll probably be familiar with it. It hit the headlines on front pages. Now, the object exhibits no visible propulsion devices, no rigid structure, no identifiable surface material. It moves smoothly and steadily with pulsing tendrils and a fluctuating density we can see by the changes in colour. It's completely silent, it is morphologically unstable, and it is only visible in certain light frequencies. Now, based on detailed analysis from both plasma physicists and multispectral imaging, we conclude with a strong confidence, this is more than 85%, that the object is thermally emissive, physically real, with plasma-based dynamics. Why plasma, you ask? Plasma, the fourth state of matter, is known to exhibit the exact characteristics observed. Translucency in infrared, electromagnetic self-organization, filamentary structures, and spontaneous motion when confined by magnetic or electric fields. Our Bayesian probability model places the likelihood of plasma origin at anywhere up to 68 to 85%. But what about non-human origin? How do we judge that? Do we have anything on record that governments and authorities would accept to be non-human? It's a big hypothesis. But the obvious point to make is there is nothing human known or human made that we are aware of that exhibits this known type of propulsion and material form. It is a non-terrestrial origin. That is what we can say based on advanced physics and based on our knowledge of advanced technology. But of course, what technology are we made aware of today? Now, we did look at non-plasma alternatives, cloaked drones, nanoparticle clouds, atmospheric lensing, directed energy interactions, but none fully explain the object's morphology, its behavior, its flight pattern and direction. Our final verdict: the video is almost certainly authentic. It captures a phenomenon that modern physics does not yet fully explain. Whether it's an advanced experimental technology or a naturally occurring but undocumented plasma-based life form, it warrants serious scientific attention and repeatable multispectral verification. This is not mythology. This is physics, surveillance technology, and careful probabilistic analysis. And it raises questions we must now confront with rigor, not ridicule.
And I'm sure we're all pretty well aware of this jellyfish UAP footage. If not, it's the image that I used in the thumbnail for today's episode. But there are so many experts on both sides that are coming out and going, hey, it's real, and no, it's not. And it's really hard to know what to believe. Just the simple fact that I've never seen this type of UAP before makes me feel like maybe it's, a little manufactured. But at the same time, just because we've never seen it before doesn't mean that it hasn't been here before. Or maybe it's a new type of alien just coming down and checking things out. I don't know. I'm still a little up in the air myself. That is so strange. Now, I looked up a few other videos like this. I can't authenticate them. Some of them look real, some of them don't, but I do know that ants will do that. It's called a death spiral, and they will do that basically until they expire. And I'm not an entomologist, so I don't know why, but I bet it has something to do with the frequency that is being emitted by the object that is put in the center of them. If it actually is real, it probably induces them into like a fugue state where they just go around in circles. I'm not 100% sure about the science behind that, but it's interesting.
Just think about the last few months. Earthquakes have been rattling nations. Wars are simmering in various parts of the world. And natural disasters are occurring with increasing frequency and severity. We've seen everything from devastating floods to wildfires, and the intensity is only rising. But that's not all. There's something else going on that's been flying under the radar. Something strange and supernatural. Have you noticed the odd occurrences in the sky? Blue spirals, eclipses that seem to form strange symbols. Just recently, we had the Devil Horn eclipse. And now, we have the Ark of the Covenant reappearing out of nowhere. This isn't just coincidence. These events are stacking up. And when you start connecting the dots, it becomes impossible to ignore the bigger picture. We are witnessing an increase in both the physical and spiritual storms happening around the world. From natural disasters to strange celestial events, these signs are getting harder to overlook. And then there's the rise of global control.
With that last little bit, the rise of global control makes me think that somebody's making these things happen for one reason or another, like the New World Order is being put into place and they're like, let's make all these bad things happen, and people start freaking out and turning to God or turning away from God, and then Operation Bluebeam. I don't know necessarily. I also feel like maybe it's Earth correcting itself because there's the whole human virus theory that we're a virus and we're infecting the Earth, and the Earth is like, I don't want to do this anymore, and it's trying to clean itself up because it is its own little, encased habitation, and we go messing with stuff and it tries to correct it. It's just a theory.
Pay attention, check this out. Now I'm going to show you guys zoomed in. Check this out over here. What the heck is going on here?
So I slowed that down and looked at it frame by frame. And it doesn't look like a direct energy weapon. It doesn't look like anything supernatural. Unfortunately, it's pretty boring. It looks like a transformer exploded.
I've heard from people in the Pentagon that the buzzword in the secret of secrets in the Pentagon is the Sumerian gods are returning, and that's what they're referring to as that whole area that Peter.
Wow.
Can you repeat that again, just in case anybody missed it?
Well,
Buzzword
in the Pentagon, in the the military circles that are in the know about the cover-up here, they kind of in whispered tones talk about the return of the Sumerian gods, and they're talking about the what we would call aliens or fallen angels returning.
Just like in the days of Noah. Abductions never stopped. What do you think they want? Why are they here? How come nobody's talking about abductions?
Okay, that went a little sideways. I was kind of cool, a little creepy, a little creepy. But yeah, why aren't we talking about abductions as much as we used to? I mean, yeah, I know I'm talking about it all the time, but I mean, we as people aren't talking about it nearly as loudly as we used to talk about it. People just going missing and stuff. Are we like over it? Have we gotten past that where we're like, yeah, it's just happening? Or what's going on? Is something else coming? I know I said blue beam earlier, but maybe they're like, oh, the abductions have slowed down, must mean they're ready to come, and then the whole operation that makes us not do the things that they think that we're gonna do because we're desensitized to it. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I'm really big into conspiracy theories, so imagine this. Imagine there's a company out there that collects data. Maybe they get a piece of your hair, or maybe you spit into a tube and you send it in and you pay for it, and they somehow tell you all about your DNA makeup and possible brothers and sisters that you didn't know about, and distant relatives and things like that, right? And it's online, and you get to sign up for the website, and when you do that, you don't read the terms and conditions, and the terms and conditions say if anything were to happen to their company and they were to sell out and maybe perhaps go bankrupt, whoever ends up buying the company, anyone at all, now has all of that information and all of that data that was given to them by you because you agreed to it. If someone decides to buy it and they get all of that information, all of your information, all of your DNA makeup, everything about you. So then let's say that they decide that they're going to sell this information to insurance companies. And somewhere along in that DNA makeup of yours, they found out that you are predisposed to multiple illnesses, lots of diseases. So what if then those insurance companies find out about your little illness that you could potentially have and they decide to raise a few premiums? You become a liability for something that you may not even know about that was just in your genetic makeup. Doesn't mean you're going to have this issue, but you potentially could. Now, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but it would be a shame if a big company that collects data went bankrupt.
I've been saying that about insurance companies getting a hold of this data for a while now, but you can go into 23andMe and delete your data. Don't just delete your account. You have to delete the data. I don't know how effective that is, if it 100% like scrubs it out, or if they're like, okay, it's deleted, but they still got it. But you can go in and delete your data and then delete your account. And hopefully, that'll save you from becoming a victim.
A flight from Atlanta to Toronto, and I specifically picked the window seat because I knew I'd get a chance to see a sunrise. As you can see, I'm looking very touristy with my P900, but what I recorded was 100% proof that the sun is not 93 million miles away, so check it out. So here's the video I took. As you can see, the sun is about to start rising, and it's not even past the horizon. You can see the horizon in the background, and the sun is going to start rising through that thick layer of clouds right there. Now, if the sun was 93 million miles away, it would be rising at the horizon, not in the middle of the clouds right there. So I was at about 34,000 feet when I was recording this with my P900, and I don't see how that is possible if the sun is 93 million miles away.
I'm pretty sure that was like haze. You know how there's The haze. You know what this means, right? This means the haze. I think it was haze. I don't think that horizon was where he drew it. It was the haze.
A while back, News Nation reported a claim from a Pentagon whistleblower that back during World War II, Pope Pius XII tipped off the U.S. government about the recovery of a partially intact UFO that Benito Mussolini's Italian government had discovered. Beyond Catholics, if people start to realize that it's not an Adam and Eve story and it's not just Earth and there's a lot more to it, there goes religion.
The canonical, doctrine of many religions is very kind of set in stone. And so to go back and kind of rewrite history and to say, okay, well, perhaps not only we're not the only ones in the universe, but what if they don't look like us? Would that mean that people lose their faith? So all those questions is kind of what the theory is as to why perhaps they believe that either people are not ready for this or that they should indefinitely keep it covered up.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as a non-religious person, I do find this to be particularly true, really. Not that I'm discrediting any religion. I do think that a religious structure is good. Even if you don't believe in a God, I still have some kind of religious structure as far as good. What is good? What is wrong? Not necessarily evil, but what is right and what is wrong. That is a good structure to have for a person, and a lot of religion does help people have that. But I totally believe that the Vatican is hiding all kinds of stuff because it helps for the people. And I understand that. I think that it morphed into more control than it once was. But that is just my personal belief. Speaking of the Vatican, at the moment that I'm recording this, they are meeting to elect the new pope. I'm not sure if it's already been released by the time you see this, probably. But that's happening today.
I found this out recently. This man was a cosmonaut for the USSR. His name was Sergei Krikalev. He was the last citizen of the USSR.
Okay.
He said the Russian space station was like his home.
Couldn't get enough of it.
He was sent up there for a mission May 1991. And while in orbit, he witnessed the Soviet Union dissolve. And what's scary...
He's in space this time.
He's in space and he's up there and all of a sudden, Soviet Union is dissolved.
It's kaput.
And so the space program was split then between Russia and Ukraine. They were scrambling and they almost pretty much forgot about him. And at the time, the space station down in Russia, they went on strike for pay. So people weren't even working.
Oh no.
He ended up spending, I believe, 311 days in the space station, not knowing when he was going to come back.
Almost a full year? Are they in communication with him at this time?
They are, but it's brief and non-consistent because the Soviet Union's dissolving. So there's just chaos everywhere.
No one knows who exactly can claim him, and
he eventually gets a ride back into Russia, but he was the last citizen of the USSR.
What a terrifying situation that must have been. That poor guy. I mean, we think about Sonny and Butch, who were stranded on the International Space Station recently, but they weren't there nearly as long, and they weren't watching their country basically disintegrate beneath them, wondering, okay, who's gonna come and get me? There was a plan, right? There was no plan for this poor guy. How absolutely crazy. All right, you ready to continue on with our CIA black site story? Well, I mean, whether you're ready or not, here it is.
But you might be thinking that if we're talking about terrorists, people who have committed heinous atrocities against innocent people, that the normal rules and values that we abide by don't apply here, especially if these techniques could potentially give us information that would thwart the next horrific attack and save thousands of lives. In that case, isn't torture justified? Well, it turns out that in addition to being a violation of our own values, torture doesn't actually work. There's been extensive research on this that finds that despite what the movies say, torture doesn't work. It creates stress, making it harder for the person being interrogated to remember facts, and often pushes them to make up information to get the torture to stop. There are many cases of this happening within the CIA Black Site program. Like when the mastermind of 9/11 was being waterboarded hundreds of times, he finally gave the names of two men who the CIA spent a bunch of time going to capture only to learn that they had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda or terrorism. It's just not as straightforward as you would imagine. But the CIA disagrees. They said that they got useful intelligence on this. So the Senate, when they were investigating this program, went case by case to actually evaluate whether or not torture led to useful intelligence, ones that thwarted the terrorists' plans. And what they found was that there was, quote, no relationship between the information from torture and thwarting these plots and stopping the next terror attack. They found that the CIA did get useful intelligence from these prisoners, but not from torture, and that they often tried to retroactively justify the torture by saying that useful intelligence did come out of the program. But most of the time, that information was gained from other sources, or it was information that the government already had. And even worse, they found that the CIA never actually did an evaluation on how useful these techniques were. They just kind of did them, evading any kind of accountability and oversight that would make this not only ethical and legal, but also effective in getting the intelligence they were after. Overall, the conclusion of this report is that, quote, the CIA's use of its enhanced interrogation techniques was not an effective means of acquiring intelligence or gaining cooperation from detainees.
I think this is a testament to how emotions cause people to act irrationally. We were all very, very emotional when the 9/11 attack happened, and we jumped to conclusions. The CIA jumped to a conclusion, which they are known to do. Oh, here's a problem. We have to fix it right now, without even thinking about what's going into that. And so a lot of people that didn't necessarily need to have anything happen to them had some horrible things done to them by the CIA. And emotion has no business in situations like this. We need to stop and think about it and put this into perspective before we go irrationally reacting to these things. But we will watch the conclusion on Friday. For me, I'm calling it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. And then come on back in a couple of days, because we're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.
A group of Tren de Aragua gangbangers spelled out SOS at a Texas detention center. President Trump responded by hiring a pilot to write this.